Daily Words of God. When you are able to truly appreciate God's thoughts and attitude toward mankind, when you can truly understand God's emotions and concern for each being of creation, you will be able to understand the devotion and the love spent on every single one of the people created by the Creator. When this happens, you will use two words to describe God's love. What are those two words? Some people say selfless, and some people say philanthropic. Of these two, philanthropic is the word least suited to describe God's love. This is a word that people use to describe someone who is magnanimous or broad-minded. I loathe this word because it refers to dispensing charity at random, indiscriminately, with no consideration for principle. It is an overly sentimental inclination, which is common to foolish and confused people. When this word is used to describe God's love, there is inevitably a blasphemous connotation. I have here two words that more aptly describe God's love. What are they? The first one is immense. Is this word not very evocative? The second is vast. There is real meaning behind these words, which I use to describe God's love. Taken literally, immense describes a thing's volume or capacity. But regardless of how big that thing is, it is something that people can touch and see. This is because it exists. It is not an abstract object, but something that can give people ideas in a relatively accurate and practical way. Whether you look at it from a 2- or a 3-dimensional perspective, you do not need to imagine its existence, because it is a thing that actually exists in a real way. Even though using the word immense to describe God's love can feel like an attempt at quantifying His love, it also gives the feeling that His love is unquantifiable. I say that God's love can be quantified because His love is not empty, and nor is it a thing of legend. Rather, it is something shared by all things under God's rule, something that is enjoyed by all creatures to varying degrees and from different perspectives. Although people cannot see or touch it, this love brings sustenance and life to all things as it is revealed, bit by bit, in their lives, and they count and bear witness to God's love that they enjoy in each passing moment. I say that God's love is unquantifiable because the mystery of God providing for and nourishing all things is something that is difficult for humans to fathom, as are God's thoughts for all things, and particularly those for mankind. That is to say, no one knows the blood and tears the Creator has poured out for mankind. No one can comprehend. No one can understand the depth or weight of the love that the Creator has for mankind, whom He created with His own hands. Describing God's love as immense is to help people appreciate and understand its breadth and the truth of its existence. It is also so that people can more deeply comprehend the actual meaning of the word Creator, and so that people can gain a deeper understanding of the true meaning of the appellation creation. What does the word vast usually describe? It is generally used to describe the ocean or the universe, for example. The vast universe or the vast ocean. The expansiveness and quiet depth of the universe are beyond human understanding. It is something that captures man's imagination something for which they feel great admiration. Its mystery and profundity are within sight, but beyond reach. When you think of the ocean, you think of its breadth. It looks limitless, and you can feel its mysteriousness and its great capacity to hold things. This is why I have used the word vast to describe God's love, to help people feel how precious it is, to feel the profound beauty of His love, and that the power of God's love is infinite and wide-ranging. I use this word to help people feel the holiness of His love and the dignity and unoffendableness of God that is revealed through His love. Now, do you think vast is a suitable word for describing God's love? Can God's love measure up to these two words, immense and vast? Absolutely. In human language, these two words alone are somewhat apt and are relatively close to describing God's love. Do you not think so? If I had you describe God's love, would you use these two words? Most likely you would not, because your understanding and appreciation of God's love is limited to the scope of a two-dimensional perspective and has not ascended to the height of three-dimensional space. So, if I had you describe God's love, you would feel that you lack the words, or perhaps you would even be rendered speechless. The two words that I have talked about today may be difficult for you to understand, or maybe you simply do not agree. This only shows that your appreciation and understanding of God's love is superficial and limited to a narrow scope. I have said before that God is selfless. You remember this word, selfless. Could it be that God's love can only be described as selfless? Is this not too narrow a scope? You should ponder this issue more, so that you may gain something from it.